Hello everybody, Eric the Green back here, and I want to do an update on all the gooseberries plants that I'm growing this year. The great southern gooseberry project. I live on the very southern edge of where I think gooseberries are even possible to grow because of the heat and humidity and lack of chill hours. So I'm in zone 7B, and this plant here is the wild native Ribes missourians. It grows through the central to south central United States. It's very heat and drought tolerant. Right there's one of the berries. They get solid black, very flavorful, very vigorous plant. And here's one of the stems going up here. And this is kind of in a woodland setting. This one is. I have some in the full sun to see if they set fruit better, because it has fruit, but they are not. I mean, there's quite a bit of fruit here, but you know, it's not as thick as it should be with fruit. So, and everywhere a tip touches the ground, we get a new plant. So I've moved some up into the full sun. But this is Ribes missourians. All right, here we are at the new Orris 8 plant. Now this is a cross between the European gooseberry and the European black currant, like the yostaberry, but this is called Orris 8. This one is more like a gooseberry than a black currant. And right there is some fruit. Now I've eaten some of these, but I don't think they've been ripe enough. They have a lot of flavor, pretty sour though. And this is supposed to be a sweet variety. It is thorny. The yostaberry isn't thorny, I don't think, but this one is thorny. But I'll put up with the thorns if we get bigger berries and sweeter berries. But looking forward to this. Like I said, it's a new variety this year, but it has like 18 inches of new growth, so it's vigorous. We've been having some 90+ degree days, so shows promise. Orris 8. All right, this is another new variety this year. This is Tixia, and it makes a large red teardrop shaped gooseberry. And this was developed in Switzerland, and it has a lot of new growth. It's a vigorous plant, more than the Orris 8, I think, even. But it didn't bloom any, so I don't know about the fruit yet. Didn't get any fruit. The stems are kind of a light gray color, and it reminds me a lot of our native Ribes aureum, the native golden currant that grows in the western United States, clove currant. So I wonder if they may have used that when they developed this. But it's a very vigorous plant, I know that. Don't know anything about the fruit yet, except what I've read and seen. So I've not got to try the fruit. Maybe next year. It's growing a lot. Tixia. All right, this plant here is a Hinenmaki yellow. It's a pretty small plant when I got it, so I decided to pot it up for a year before I planted it in ground. And it did make a lot of big gooseberries, but they dropped before they were ripe. So, and I ate them anyway. Wasn't gonna waste them. They're pretty sour. A couple of them, you know, were closer to ripe, so they were good. Supposed to have an apricot flavor, big yellow gooseberry, developed in Finland. But it looks like we're getting some new growth starting to come out here. So maybe it's gonna reset. And one thing I have to do and be careful of is this is in a black pot, so I'm going to have to either put something on this, guarding it from the sun as we go through the year, because that's going to get way too hot for this gooseberry. Gooseberries don't like containers anyway, that's my experience. So this is going in ground first thing in the late fall, but for right now, this is how it's going to spend the summer. Hinenmaki yellow. Okay, right here are two more of the Ribes missourians that I moved out of the woods and put up here in the full sun. and they're doing very well. This was a tiny plant when I planted it, and look at the size of the leaves on that. But look at the thorns also. But it's a very vigorous plant. This is all new growth, this whole stem. And all of this is one. This is all new growth, just this year. But look at the thorns. But I'll put up with thorns if I get good fruit. It's all right, I'm not complaining. It's a vigorous plant, amazingly vigorous. This here behind it is the Invicta. Now I had this the same way I did the Hen Mock Yellow. It was small. I left it in a pot last year, planted it out in the fall, and it really took off this spring. All this new growth, and this middle stem, these two middle stems are all new growth from the very base. So this is all this spring right here. This is Invicta. Makes a big green gooseberry, and it's from Europe. I think it's an English variety, so I don't know how it's going to take the heat, but right now it doesn't show any sign of disease whatsoever. It's just powering through. Invicta. Now over here behind me, these are the Poor Man plants. I did a review on the Poor Man gooseberry last year, and I'll tell you, I was expecting more blooms this year. It didn't bloom as many blooms as I thought it would, but the ones that did set fruit are huge this year. They are huge this year, at least twice the size as last year's fruit. And these are just starting to ripen up, just starting to get a little bit of a pink blush there. And here's some over here, if I can get it on there. And I saw one that was getting ripe, and I waited till I was filming to try it, but now I can't find. Oh, there it is, over there. There it is, right there. I'll try that. And I just found this other one on the ground, that light colored one. I don't know if that's even really edible or not. I don't look like it ripened very much. But that Poor Man gooseberry is twice as big as they were last year. And see if I can focus in on that a little better. It's pretty purpley pink, and I'm going to review it again. Oh wow, much flavor, much more flavor, much sweeter than it was last year even. Man, that's a good gooseberry. If this would just bloom more, have more flowers, which I think it will as it gets older. This is second year, but it's a vigorous plant. A lot of new growth, and made it through last summer just fine. No problems with the heat or humidity. This is the star of the show for right now. All right, Poor Man gooseberry. This is a Southern Gooseberry project. Thank you very much for watching.